up in London, and then when I was 14, I guess, well, we had been down on the coast in the beach when war broke out, and I'll never forget, we were riding horses that morning, and when war was declared, and we stopped at a little cottage because we all knew there was an ultimatum at 11, and we asked, and a man had the radio on, he said, "It's war." And my parents were visibly shaken because they remembered the war, my mother especially, and she knew she had 2 sons who would be going, and I eventually did war work too. But it was quite different. We moved back to London when France fell, and incidentally, my little brother and I helped the returning soldiers from Dunkirk fill sandbags to defend our island home. But it looked as though the invasion was imminent, so we moved back to London, and it was quiet that summer, and then the Blitz started in the fall, and it was really, really bad. We had bombs landing all around us. We had had a bomb land in our front garden at the beginning of the war when my brothers were in the house. They were developing some camera film, and they didn't want to get out of the house, but they made them. The bomb had not gone off, so the men came and dug it up and took it off and exploded it. So anyway, when the bombing got really bad, my father said, "I'm going to send you down to my brother's house at Henley-on-Thames, just outside Henley-on-Thames." So we went down there, and my father was commuting to his law office every day, and he ran into a friend of his, and he said, "I'm desperate to get my family out of London." And the man said, "Well, why don't you buy my house, old man? I've been trying to sell it for 5 years." And my father saw a great opportunity there, and he saw it, wrote him a receipt on the spot, put a twopenny stamp on, which was law, signed across it, gave him, I think, £10 or something, and they settled on a pre-war price. And so we moved down there, and the family in there, the couple moved to Bournemouth, which was horribly bombed during the war. It was a terrible mistake. But we were living down there and commuting to London every day.
Was much thought given to where the bombs might fall, or did they just fall everywhere?
Indiscriminate bombing. I remember when the docks were bombed at the start of the Blitzkrieg. You see, England depended on imports. We got sugar from the Caribbean, wheat from Canada, cotton from India, and it was our lifeline. So the Germans came and bombed. I was standing up in the back bedroom and saw this red glow in the sky. It looked like a sunset, but it glowed all day next morning, and they were the fire bombs. They'd landed on the docks, and it was really terrible. So anyway, we moved down to Henley-on-Thames after that.
And the bomb that remained unexploded, how close did it come to the home where your brothers were?
Oh, it was in our front garden. If it had gone off, they would have been killed, I'm sure.
And did your brothers both survive?
Beg pardon?
Did your brothers both survive the war?
Oh, yes, they did. The older one volunteered as soon as war broke out, and he was accepted, but not for pilot's training. They found out he had great radio skills, and they needed people to repair the bombs and radar and things like that. So he languished as a lowly aircraftman while his younger brother went in, was commissioned officer on completion of his training, and he got sent out to Ceylon, Colombo, and he was navigating the Indian Ocean, and that was his army service. Jim finally got accepted for training, finished his training, graduated from the Pensacola Naval Air Base, did very well too, and he got back to Ireland the day peace was declared. But they both had a lifelong love of flying, and John stayed in the reserve so he could fly on his holiday, and Jim had a plane and used it for business purposes.
Yeah. And That's very fortunate. I mean, these bombs, were these German aircraft flying over and dropping bombs, or were these the rockets? Were you being shot?
Oh, well, early in the war, they were the German planes. And I remember walking around our neighborhood in London and just seeing whole houses split in two with the bathroom facilities hanging on the side of the wall where the bombs had landed. They were Air Force, German Air Force, Luftwaffe. And of course, they came all over England. They bombed Coventry terribly badly. And I think we bombed Dresden. Retaliation. That was bad. But these were planes, and then they started sending the pilotless planes from Peenemünde, I think it was, over England, and they would land mostly in southeast England. And one landed on my father's office 20 minutes before he got there. He was very fortunate to have survived.